Hello everyone, good morning to all of you. So welcome to Viti Pathshala. In this class we would be doing the two chapters. So one is the changes around us, and the second chapter would be our air. So in this class we would be completing the two chapters simultaneously. So let's start. So the first chapter that we would be doing here is the changes around us, the 6th class term 2nd book, and today itself I would be completing this book. So we can start now. So let's start. So changes around us. So in this is a part of the chemistry. So in this we would be studying about the changes that are occurring around us, or the changes which are happening around us. So that we are going to study here. Now after studying this chapter, you would be able to recognize and enlist a few things that happen in our day-to-day life. To classify the observed changes as slow, fast, reversible, irreversible, physical and chemical changes, desirable, undesirable, natural and human made, and to explain the process of the dissolution, to distinguish between a solvent and a solute. So these we would be going to study in this chapter. So observe the picture in the previous page and fill the gaps. So it is talking about the initial stage and the later stage, what will happens. So how a seed change into the plant, then how a unripened fruit changes into a ripened fruit, then here comes this day into night, and how this rock change into a beautiful elephant architecture, or we can say that इतनी अच्छी मूर्ति में change हो रहा है, an idol, it is changed into an idol. So introduction. What is a change? So first it is asking you about what is a change. So the process in which something becomes different from what it was earlier. Means earlier it was a seed, now it has changed into a plant, and we can say also the later on the fruit will also come. So these are the changes. So what was earlier and what it was now is a change. Now it is the observable difference between the initial stage and the final stage of any substance. So we as a human being, we are also subjected to change. We also change, and the change is the nature, law of the nature. So now, what was earlier and what it. So change is the law of the nature. In our day-to-day life we see many changes around us. So weather changes periodically, daily, seasonally. Now season changes periodically. So we have the 4 seasons and they changes. For example, the summer season, then the autumn will come, then winter and the spring. So there are 4 seasons. Now a paper burns readily, which it takes a few days for an iron nail to rust. It takes a few hours for the milk to turn into the curd, but vegetables get softened in a few minutes when cooked. Now the said changes are accompanied by the change in the properties. With the change, the shape, the color, the temperature, the position and composition also changes. Some changes can be observed, can be noticeable, while some are not possible to be noticed. Can you observe some changes and write down? Yes, we can observe and we can write down. So we can write that the human behavior, or they have shown a balloon which is not filled of the air, then it would be changed and a new shape it will be taking. Next is the classification of the changes. How changes are classified? There are different types of the changes observed in nature that occurs around us. Some changes take place very quickly, while other takes in the hours, days, or even they take years to change. Now some changes are temporary while some other are the permanent. कुछ temporary होते हैं, कुछ permanent होते हैं. Now some changes produces the new substances while others they do not produce a new substance. Some changes are natural while the others are made by the human being. कुछ natural होते हैं, कुछ human being के द्वारा बनाए गए होते हैं. Some changes are desirable to us, but some changes are not desirable to us. Now we shall now try to classify changes on the certain similarities and differences. Now what are these? These are slow and fast, reversible and irreversible, then physical and the chemical changes, desirable, undesirable, natural, and the man-made changes. Now first we would be going to study the slow and the fast changes. Look at the picture, discuss about the duration for the changes to take place. So from a baby to an adult it take time almost 100 years when you became old. So from 0 to the 100 years, or the now an average we take it would be 60 days. So this the iron that fetter changes into the that rusting. The iron gets rusted. Then a bulb glow, it take time to glow. Then the crackers take the few time to crack. Now slow changes which take place over a long period of time, जो लंबे समय लेते हैं, hours, days and the months, उनको हम slow changes बोलते हैं. जैसे कि हमारे नाखून, हमारे hair, the changes of the season and the germination of the seed, plant का निकल के आना. फास्ट चेंजेस की अगर मैं बात करूं, फास्ट चेंजेस जो सेकंड्स और मिनट्स में अगर हो जाएं तो उनको हम फास्ट चेंजेस बोलते हैं. फास्ट चेंजेस आर द चेंजेस दैट अकर इन अ शॉर्ट पीरियड ऑफ द टाइम इन द सेकंड्स एंड द मिनट्स. दे आर नोन एज द फास्ट चेंजेस, like the bursting of the balloon, breaking of the glass, bursting of the firecrackers, burning of the paper. So these are the fast changes. The next comes is the reversible and irreversible changes. Reversible means you can reverse the change, but irreversible which cannot be reversed. Reversible means changes which can be reversed to get back to the original state are known as the reversible change. Touch me not plant, that is the sunflower plant or the touch me plant, responding to the touch. Now stretching of the rubber band and the melting of the iron. So these are the some of the reversible examples. Now this you can see that the touch me plant, so this closes and again opens. Next comes is your irreversible changes which cannot be reversed. To get back the original state are known as the irreversible changes. Now example, change of the milk into the curd. You cannot change the curd again into the milk. Digestion of the food, making the idli for the batter, these cannot be again changed. Now next comes is we would be studying about the physical and chemical changes. So these are important. Now take an apple and cut it into two halves. Cut one half into the pieces and share it with your friends. Is there any change in the composition of the apple while cutting? No, only the shape and the size have changed. This can be a physical change. अगर उस एप्पल के जो है शेप और सिर्फ साइज चेंज हुआ है तो उसको हम फिजिकल चेंज बोलेंगे. वहीं अगर उसको आप थोड़ी देर के लिए बाहर एटमॉस्फेयर में रख दो, यू कीप इन द एटमॉस्फेयर फॉर सम टाइम, यू विल फाइंड दैट इट विल टर्न इनटू रेडिश इन कलर. So leave it for one other half on the table for some time. You can see brown patches formed on the cut surface because of the reaction between the some substances in the apple and the air around that, and this is called as the chemical change. इसी को हम chemical change बोलते हैं. Now physical changes, the definition of the physical changes they are temporary in which there is a change in physical appearance of the substance but not in the chemical composition. So only the appearance will be changing, not the chemical composition. Here no new substance is formed. कोई नया substance यहाँ पर form नहीं होगा. Examples are the melting of the ice, the solution of the salt and or the sugar, the stretching of your rubber band. So these are the examples. Now let us now understand the physical changes that take place in the water. So you already know that the water exists in the three states, that are the solid, liquid और gas. आपको पानी जो है वो तीन फॉर्म में मिलेगा, जो कि है सॉलिड में इन द आइस फॉर्म, लिक्विड एंड इन द गैसियस फॉर्म इन द फॉर्म ऑफ द वेपर. नाउ चेंज ऑफ द स्टेट टेक्स प्लेस आइदर बाय हीटिंग और कूलिंग. बाय हीटिंग एनर्जी इज सप्लाइड एंड बाय कूलिंग एनर्जी इज टेकन अवे. सो हीट से क्या होता है, एनर्जी हम सप्लाई करते हैं, और जब हम कूल करते हैं तो किसी को हम एनर्जी को ले लेते हैं. दीज आर द रीजन जिससे चेंजेस अकर होते हैं. आइस चेंजेस इनटू वाटर लिक्विड ऑन हीटिंग एंड द वाटर ऑन हीटिंग इट चेंजेस इनटू द स्टीम और इट चेंजेस इनटू द वेपर्स. Then again that when it condenses and it forms in the form of the rain, and the precipitation takes place in the form of the liquid, or it may be in the form of the directly in the snow form or the ice form. Now let us name a few processes connected with the change in the state of the water. Ice into the water on heating is called as the melting. Water into the steam is called as the vaporization. Steam into the water on the cooling, it is called as the condensation. And water into the ice on cooling, it is called as the freezing. Now more to know the change of the solid state of the solid to the gas. Solid से जो गैस बनता है उसको हम sublimation बोलते हैं. अगर directly the solid changes into the gas, that process is known as the sublimation. The example is camphor. Now let us understand one more physical change. Now next is the dissolution. The spreading of the solid particle broken into the individual molecules among the liquid molecules, that is known as dissolution. Now dissolution are of the three types. These are your solvent, solute and solution. क्या क्या है? Solute, solvent and solution. Solvent plus solute is equal to your solution के बराबर होते हैं. Now सबसे पहले what is your solute? Solute is a substance that dissolves the solute को. Solvent आपका जो एक ऐसा substance है जो कि dissolve कर देता है solute को. Solute वो substance है that is dissolved in a solvent to make the solution. So when the solute is dissolved in a solvent, yes, phosphorus is also example. Now water is known as the universal solvent बोलते हैं पानी को, क्योंकि वो किसी में भी मिल जाता है. It can mix with anyone. Now it dissolves a wide range of the substances. So water is the universal solvent. Now this was your physical change. Now we would be doing the chemical change. Chemical changes are the permanent changes in which there is change in the chemical composition and new substance is formed. Chemical change क्या है? परमानेंट चेंज है, जिसमें क्या हो रहा है कि चेंज केमिकल कंपोजिशन में ही चेंज हो जाता है. जैसे फ्रॉम योर मिल्क टू द कर्ड. सो एग्जांपल्स आर बर्निंग ऑफ द वुड, popping of the popcorn, blackening of the silver ornaments and the rusting of the irons. So in this the chemical composition changes, a completely new substance is formed and that is not irreversible. उसको हम irreversible दोबारा उस फॉर्म में नहीं ला सकते. Now physical change, no new substance. So there they have made a table for your revision purpose, so to you would be identified, you can differentiate between the physical and chemical change. दोनों में अंतर आप देख सकते हो. So no new substance is formed. Here a new substance is formed. No change in the chemical composition. Here the chemical composition is changed. It is temporary change. It is your permanent change. एक आपका temporary है, एक permanent है. एक one is your reversible, other is irreversible. Now next thing that we would be going to study is your desirable, that you want, and the other is undesirable change, that you do not want. So desirable, the changes which are useful, not harmful to our environment, are desired by us, जो हमें चाहिए होते हैं, and known as the desirable changes. Like we require the ripening of the fruit and growth of the plants, cooking of the food. Also we can say that the growth in ourself, growth in our height, so our height should grow, our body should grow. That is also a desirable change, that we all want a healthy body. And milk changing into the curd, it is also a desirable change. Now sometime you will see that the desirable change it turned into the undesirable. So you wanted the milk to change into the curd, but it does not change completely, it does not work completely. There may be some for that there may be some reason. For example, the milk would not be at appropriate temperature to be changed into the curd, or the solvent you have applied to the milk is not enough to change the milk into the curd. So there would be many reasons. So undesirable changes, the change which are harmful to our environment, which changes which are harmful to our environment, which are not desired by us, are known as undesirable, like the deforestation, or we can say that the forest fires. Now decaying of the fruit and the rusting of the iron, these are the some of the examples. So to prevent rusting of the iron, we apply the paints to our doors or the other iron products. Now the natural and the human made changes. So next classification which we are going to study is between the natural and the human made. So natural changes which take place in the nature on their own, जो अपने आप होते हैं and are beyond the control of the human beings, are known as the natural changes, like the rotation of the earth, the changing phases of the moon, the rain. These are the natural changes. Human made or the artificial. So human nowadays they are also making the rain to occur through the artificial seeding. So by applying the artificial sulfur iodide is used in the artificial rain. Now the changes which are brought about by the human beings are known as the human made or the artificial changes. They will happen on their own, like the cooking, deforestation, cultivation, crops, and the construction of the building. Now at last they have given the points to remember. Now everything in the world undergoes changes, and change is a law and change is a natural phenomena, and we must accept that. Now change occurs in the position, shape, size, state, color, temperature, composition, etc. Now fast change, they are the short period of the time, slow change long period of time, reversible change can go back to its original state, irreversible cannot go back to its original state, desirable that we want and which are useful for us, not harmful for the environment, and the other undesirable changes that are harmful for our environment. Natural changes that occur in the place in the nature on their own, and the human made changes that are brought about by the human beings. A solute when dissolved in a solvent, it makes a solution. The process of the dissolving the solute in the solvent is called as the dissolution. So this was the chapter, and we have completed the chapter. This was the quite easy chapter. All of these things are much understandable to you, and you all know these. So as I said, I would be doing the 2 chapters. So this was the first chapter that we have completed of the chemistry. Now let us move to the second chapter, and that is air. So the second chapter that we are going to study is the air. Now they have, at the beginning, they have given you a beautiful diagram. They have shown silver iodide, artificial rain is silver iodide is used, not oxide. Now the burning combustion. So they have shown you the air, a beautiful diagram. Let us study this first, what it is telling us. So you can see this diagram. So the earth, on there you will find a layer, that is the ozone layer. Ozone layer you will find in the stratosphere. So it is found in the stratosphere. Above the troposphere, the layer is the ozone layer that protects the UV rays. It does not allow the UV rays to enter the atmosphere. Now air, for the survival of the plants and the animals. Air is everywhere. And what are the uses of the air and the atmosphere and its layers? Then burning and the combustion, and the experimental verification of oxygen, nitrogen and carbon dioxide. So let's start the chapter. In this chapter, you would be going to identify, after learning this chapter or studying this chapter, you would be able to identify what are the components and what are the uses of the air. You would be able to develop skills in performing experiments and the arriving at the conclusion. So this part we will be not concerned about this. Now next is the clarify the role of the oxygen in the process of the burning. Then to realize the significance of the air for the survival of the plant and the animals on the earth. To appreciate the need of the air in protecting our atmosphere. So let's start. Now introduction. Air is present everywhere around us. We can't see air, but we can feel its presence in so many ways. For example, we can feel air when the trees rustle, clothes hanging on the clothesline sway, pages of an open book flutters when the fan is switched on, when kites fly in the sky. We cannot see, touch or taste the air, but we can feel it. हम उसको feel कर सकते हैं, महसूस कर सकते हैं. Now it is the air that makes all these movements possible. Thus we can understand that air is present all around us. So the first thing that the chapter tells is that the air is present all around us. Now air is necessary for us to live. We can live without food for some days, but without water for few hours, but cannot survive without air for than a few minutes. Now air is very important for all living beings to survive. When air is moving, it is called wind. उसको हम wind बोलते हैं अगर air move करती है. So moving air is called as the wind. And this process I have used, I have told you there in when we were doing the geography. जब मैं आपसे geography करा रहा था तो मैंने वहाँ भी आपको ये सारी चीजें बताई थी कि moving air is known as wind. It is cool and soothing as the breeze. Now when air move with the force, it can even uproot trees, blow off the rooftops. Air is necessary for breathing and also for the combustion. Now this activity, we are not concerned with the activity, so let's move ahead. So they have shown you the temperature and the layer of the atmosphere and its layers. So we have studied these layers in the geography earlier also. So when we will go up in the air, up in the atmosphere, we will find the first layer is the troposphere. Then comes is it is the troposphere is 8 to the 16 kilometers of the range. The next comes is your stratosphere. Stratosphere is where the your ozone layer is, and in you have studied that with the temperature will increase with the height, the temperature will decrease. With the increase in the height, the temperature will decrease, but in the stratosphere, due to the presence of the ozone layer, this phenomena changes, and with the increase in the height, the temperature also increases. Then the mesosphere you will find, then with the increasing the height, the temperature will decrease. Then again in the ionosphere, with the increase in the height, the temperature will increase due to the presence of the ions in this layer. And the last is the exosphere, where you will find the low temperature. Now, air survival of the plants and the animals, it is useful for the plants and the animals, the carbon dioxide, and they release the oxygen. Now, composition is the 21% you will find is your composition, and the nitrogen is 78%. Nitrogen is required for the fertilizers and the protein synthesis. 1% is your carbon dioxide, water vapor, dust is your 1%. Now, uses of the air is used in the breathing, burning, cycle tube, patient, and the mountaineer. All us, we require the wind, air. Now, atmosphere. Our earth is surrounded by a huge envelope of air called the atmosphere. That is called as the atmosphere. Atmosphere extends to more than 800 kilometers above the surface of the earth, and is held by place by the earth's gravity. The atmosphere protects us from many harmful rays coming from the sun. The air envelope is thicker near the earth's surface, and as we go higher, the density and the availability of the air gradually decreases. This is because as we go higher, the force of gravity decreases, so it is not able to hold the large amount of the air. So this phenomena is known as the normal lapse rate, and also it is known with another name, and that is the environment lapse rate. The atmosphere is made up of 5 different layers. These are troposphere, the stratosphere, mesosphere, ionosphere, and exosphere. We have studied these earlier in the geography in detail. The troposphere is a layer closest to the earth. It is the layer in which we live. It extends up to the 16 kilometer above the surface of the air. So it is 8 to 16 kilometers. At the equator it is 16 kilometer, whereas at the poles it is 8 kilometer. Now, it also contains the water vapor, which is responsible for making the clouds. Now, this layer is responsible for all weather phenomena which occur on the earth. They are held in this layer only. Aircrafts usually fly in the tropopause. Tropopause एक जगह है जहाँ पर एयर फ्लाई करते हैं एरोप्लेन. Above this layer to avoid the strong winds and the bad weather. So that's why that is known as the tropopause, where the normally the things are stable. जिस layer में सारी चीजें stable होती हैं उसमें. Now the stratosphere lies above the troposphere. The layer has the ozone layer in it. Ozone layer protects out all life on the earth from the harmful ultraviolet rays of the sun. Now experimental verification of the presence of the oxygen, carbon dioxide and nitrogen in the air. Is air a thing? Is air a thing or a composite mixture? Now for long time, this is until 18th century, human thought air as a fundamental constituent matter. However, an igneous experiment conducted by the Joseph Priestley in 1774, it showed that the air is not an elementary substance but a composition or mixture of the gases. He was also able to identify a colorless and highly reactive gas which was later named as the oxygen. Oxygen is colorless gas and highly reactive gas by the great French chemist the Antoine Lavoisier. Now Presley took a tub of water and made a float and placed a candle in it. He covered the candle with a glass jar. As the bottom portion of the jar was filled with the water, no air can enter or exist, and hence the jar was completely sealed. As you would have guessed, the candle flame was extinguished in a very short time. He used a magnifying glass to focus the sun rays to light the candle. Now thus he tried to relight the candle many times without opening the sealed jar. The candle could not be relit. What can we make out of it? It was clear that something in the air was being used for the burning and being converted into another substance. Once the substance in the air that was aiding the burning was completely used by the burning flame and converted into the substance, the flame went out. Now later chemists named the substance necessary for burning as the oxygen, a colorless, odorless substance, that is oxygen, and during the process of the burning, oxygen is converted mostly into the carbon dioxide. So you can see that the candle glows, the candle is put off as there is no oxygen. Then the mouse is inserted, mouse died as there was no oxygen in the candle glass jar. Then the mint plant is introduced, the candle continued to glow because the mint provides the oxygen. Candle glows, mouse survived with the mint plant inside. So now as the jar was inside the water, Priestley could gently lift the jar and place a live mouse inside it without allowing outside the air to enter the jar. Without oxygen, as you would have guessed, the mouse died. It was clear that the oxygen was necessary for the survival of the mouse. Now in the next step, he gently lifted the jar and placed a mint plant. Now you could see the plant is inserted into the bell jar when the jar is very much inside the water. This is done to ensure that the outside air is not entering in the bell jar. Plants being a living thing like the mouse, perhaps he thought would die. Instead, the plant survived. After placing the mint plant, he lit up the candle and continued to burn. The fourth experiment, he took a jar, burned a candle and converted all oxygen into the carbon dioxide. He placed a mint plant and the mouse into the jar. Both plant and the mouse survived. He found that the plants and the animals have a synergy. Animals consume oxygen and release carbon dioxide. Plants take up the carbon dioxide and they release the oxygen. Now during the 1730 to 1799, Jan Ingenhousz showed that the sunlight is essential to plant to carry out the photosynthesis and also to purify air that is fouled by breathing animals or by burning the candle. Now from these experiments, it was clear that the air was a composite mixture of the many gases like the oxygen and carbon dioxide. Now proof of the release of the oxygen in the photosynthesis. So another activity they have given. So this is not important, but the earlier was important, and that we have done. So the next activity is not important. We are not concerned with the activities. They are not going to ask in our exam. Now if you want to study these, you can study at your leisure time, but these are not important for us. The important one we have done. So the first one we have done because that shows you clearly that the oxygen and the carbon dioxide, they are present, and the human being or the living being require the oxygen, whereas the plants require the carbon dioxide. Now Daniel Rutherford, a Scottish chemist, discovered the nitrogen. He removed the oxygen and converted it into carbon dioxide using an inverted bell jar using a burning candle. He passed this air without the oxygen through the lime water and removed the carbon dioxide also. Now once the carbon dioxide was removed in the air, neither a candle burned nor the plants breathed. Now hence he was sure that the remaining air he had did not had the oxygen and carbon dioxide. He was able to produce a gas which showed the same property of the air which oxygen and the carbon dioxide, and the gas was named as the nitrogen. Now test for the carbon dioxide. Pour some lime water in a glass tumbler. Bubble some air using a straw through the lime water. After a few minutes, look at the lime water carefully. The lime water will produce a white precipitate, and the lime water will eventually turn into a milky white solution. Now this shows the presence of the carbon dioxide in the air, because we inhale the oxygen and we exhale the carbon dioxide. Now from Priestley's experiment, which was followed by the Ebbinghaus and the Rutherford, we came to know that the air was not just one substance. We will now describe that air is made up of, and this can be the composition of the air. The major component of air is nitrogen. Almost 4/5 of the air is nitrogen. The second major component of the air is oxygen. About 1/5 of the air is oxygen. In addition to the nitrogen, oxygen gases, air also contains small amount of carbon dioxide, water vapor, and some other gases like the argon, helium, etc. The air may also contain some dust particles. So the composition of the air, 78% you will find the nitrogen, 1% carbon dioxide, or less than 1% the carbon dioxide, argon, water vapor, and other gases, and 21% is the oxygen in our environment. Now the composition of the air changes slightly from place to place and also from season to the season. For example, air over the industrial cities usually has a higher amount of the carbon dioxide in it than the air over the open spaces. Air in the coastal areas may have more water vapor than in the inland areas. Air also contains more water vapor in the rainy season. The amount of the dust in the air is more in the windy places than other places, other areas. Now next they have given the test for the presence of the dust particle in the air. You might have seen the sunlight entering into a dark room through a narrow slit and making the shiny dust particle dancing merely on the path of the sunlight. Actually, the air in a room always contains some dust particle, but they are so small that normally they are not visible to us. Now when the beam of the sunlight falls on them, the tiny dust particles become visible. So shall we do an activity to calculate the amount of the dust particles in the air from the above area? Now take a graph sheet. Using the marker pens, draw a 5 into 5 centimeter square on the graph. Apply a thin film of the grease on the graph sheet. Now this sheet will serve as the dust collector. Make 4 or the 5 graph sheets. discuss in the whole class as where to place the dust collectors. Now, how long to collect the dust particles and place the dust collectors in agreed position. Now, ensure that the dust collectors do not get blown away after the time scheduled for the performing the activity is reached. Remove the paper and count the number of the collected dust particles in the marked area in all the sheets. Using a magnifying glass at the dust collector, we can see something similar to the diagram below. Now then calculate the mean number of the dust particles in the marked area. So you will be finding by this formula, that is the mean equal to the total number of the dust particles on the collector upon the number of the squares on the collector. The range of the dust can also be calculated through the range equal to the maximum value minus the minimum value. Collect details from the areas where we have kept the dust collector sheets, tabulate the recording, and these are for the students. They have to mark here. Now next comes is the test of the water vapor in the air. Take a few ice cubes in a glass, keep it on the table for a few minutes, observe what happens. You could see tiny droplets of the water all over the outer surface of the glass from where the droplets come. The water vapor present in the air, they condenses on the cold surface of the glass. This shows that the air contain the vapor. Air में जो है vapor होते हैं. Now this was the topic that we have completed. Now next we would be doing the burning and the combustion. Now when we burn a candle, paper, kerosene, coal, wood, and the cooking paper LPG, oxygen is needed. The oxygen needed for the burning of the candle, paper, kerosene, coal, wood, and the cooking gas comes from the air around us. Thus, for burning the substance the continuously so as to make the fire, a continuous supply of the fresh air is needed. If we cut off the supply of the fresh air to the burning substance, then the burning substance will not get oxygen necessary for burning to continue, and hence the substance will stop burning. In rockets, as they go high in the atmosphere, the availability of the oxygen is considerably reduced. Therefore, in the rockets with the fuel, the oxygen is also carried for the combustion. So oxygen भी carry की जाती है combustion के लिए. The process of the burning of the substance in the presence of the oxygen and releasing a large amount of the light and the heat is called burning. If the process does not emit the flame, it is called as the combustion. अगर flame नहीं होगी तो वो combustion कहलाएगा. So next is your about the importance of the air for the survival of the plants and the animals. Now respiration in the plants. Plants require energy for their growth, hence respiration also occurs in the plants. Now during respiration, plants takes the oxygen and they release the carbon dioxide, just as the animal do. Now gaseous exchange with air in the atmosphere takes place in the plants with the help of the tiny holes called as the stomata. So this is important. So किससे होती है? Stomata that are present in the leaves. Now photosynthesis. Plant manufacture food by the process of photosynthesis. So this is important. Now during photosynthesis, the carbon dioxide from the air and water from the soil react in the presence of the sunlight to produce the food. Most plant possess a green pigment that is called as the chlorophyll, and it is also used up in the process of the photosynthesis. The word equation given below explains the process of the photosynthesis. So carbon dioxide plus water in the process of the sunlight is equal to the food and the oxygen. Now plants release oxygen during the photosynthesis, which is much more than the oxygen consumed by the plants during the respiration. Now next is the respiration in the animals. When we breathe in the air, the oxygen present in the air reacts chemically with the digested food within the body to produce the carbon dioxide gas, water vapor and the energy. Now they have given you a diagram to show how the photosynthesis occurs, a beautiful diagram. Now chlorophyll absorbs the light from the sun. Now this oxygen goes out, then carbon dioxide comes and the light energy. Carbon dioxide enters through the stomata से enter होती है, a natural opening in the leaf. Now water, carbon dioxide and the sunlight combine into the leaf to make the food. ये सारे combine कहाँ पर होते हैं? ये combine होते हैं आपके root में to make the in the leaf to make the food बनाने के लिए. Now next comes is your water. Water is absorbed through the roots के through water को absorb किया जाता है और stem से होता हुआ वो plant तक पहुँचता है, rest of the part तक पहुँचता है. Now oxygen and the water vapor exit the leaf through the stomata. Water loss from the leaves is called transpiration बोलते हैं उसको. Now the energy is required to carry out many processes in the body, such movement, growth and the repair. The process by which oxygen reacts with the digested food to form the carbon dioxide, water vapor and energy is called, उसको हम respiration बोलते हैं. The process can be represented like this: food plus the oxygen, carbon dioxide, water plus the energy would be released. Now carbon dioxide formed during the respiration dissolves in the blood and is exhaled out of the body through the lungs. Now the inhaled and the exhaled air thus contain the same substances but in different proportion, except the nitrogen which is present in the same amount. Inhaled air contains more of the oxygen while exhaled air contains more of the carbon dioxide. Now let us have a look of the following table to compare the composition of the air inhaled and the exhaled. So we inhale air is the 78%, exhaled the same रहेगी, whereas the oxygen is inhaled 21%, exhaled is 16%. Carbon dioxide inhaled is 0.03% and released is more, that is 4%. Water vapor variable amount increases in the exhaled air. Yes, it is very important. Now noble gases, then the 0.95%, 0.9, dust variable amount and none. Temperature, room temperature and the body temperature. Now respiration of the plants and the animals in the water. Now how it takes place in the water. The water of the ponds, lakes and the rivers and the seas have the some amount of the dissolved air containing the oxygen. So what is the formula? That is the H2O. Water also have the 2 molecules of the oxygen and 1 molecule of the, they have the oxygen. So from there the oxygen is taken. The plant and the animals that live in the water use the oxygen dissolved in the water for breathing. For example, frog हो गया and the fish. Frog through the skin and the fish through the gills. Now do you know that when the carbon dioxide is cooled to the -57 degrees Celsius, it directly becomes the solid without changing to its liquid state. Now it is called as the dry ice बोलते हैं इसको हम. So this is important. This has been a question of the SSC previous year and is a good refrigerator, is a good refrigerating agent. Dry ice is used in the trucks or the freight cars for refrigerating the perishable items such as the meat and the fish while transporting them. Now uses of the air. Now air is used by plant and animal breathing के लिए. Air is used for the burning like the wood, coal, kerosene, LPG, etc. Compressed air is used to fill up the tires of the various kinds of the vehicles, and the air plays an important role in the water cycle in the nature. Ozone layer present in the atmosphere helps in the preventing the harmful radiation of the sun from reaching the earth's surface. Now, under extraordinary conditions such as a patient having the breathing difficulties, the oxygen can be supplied directly. Then a mountaineer climbing a high mountain, he carries the oxygen. A diver going deep the sea, oxygen, he carries an oxygen cylinder with him. Now, blowing air is used to turn the blades of the windmills. So the air is used to windmill and to generate the electricity. Now, the windmills are used to draw the water running pumps and the run floor mills or to generate the electricity. So this was about the air chapter, and they have given you points to remember, like all air is all around us. Our earth is surrounded by a huge envelope of air, that is the air called as the atmosphere. The process of burning of the substance in the presence of the oxygen and releasing of large amount of the light and the heat is called combustion. Priestley helped us understanding the presence of the oxygen in air and is produced by the plants during the photosynthesis. Now, which can be used by the animals for the respiration. Then Ignohouse experiment help us to know about the nitrogen. Then air contains 78, sorry, not the Ignohouse, the other person who was there, he explained the nitrogen. And the air contains 78% nitrogen, 28% oxygen, and the carbon dioxide, the water vapor, noble gas, and the dust particle. Composition of the air changes slightly from the place to place and also from season to season. In plants, you will follow this process of the photosynthesis, and in animals, this is the process. Now, aquatic plants and the animal use oxygen dissolved in the water for the breathing. Ozone layer present in the atmosphere, it helps in the preventing the harmful radiation hitting the earth directly. So these were the two chapters which we did of the chemistry. Now there are the two chapters of the your biology that we would be doing in the night. So these are important chapters that we are doing, we are going to do later on. These are the cell, and the other one is the human body, about the human body. So I hope you like the class. I think the class was good. So thank you all of you, and we would be completing it today itself, and tomorrow and the other day, Saturday and Sunday, revise the book, both the books, complete them and keep it aside.